No matter how fiercely Lobar tried to adapt, this foreign land refused to become familiar. Too many things were different, and even when she failed to understand them, she had no choice but to accept them as they were. Far from her homeland, everything felt unsettlingly strange. Not only the culture, the people's way of thinking, their clothing, their food, and the way the buildings rose cold and alien against the sky, but also the relentless climate itself. The long freezing cold seeped into her bones, and learning to live with it was far from easy. Still, she endured. She believed stubbornly, almost desperately, that these sacrifices would one day bear sweet fruit. It was this belief alone that gave her strength, that pushed her to be patient, to survive, and to quietly yearn for a life that would eventually settle into order and routine. She was only 19, innocent, simple-hearted, a young soul that had barely stepped beyond the threshold of life, someone who had never traveled more than a kilometer from her own home. She was utterly unprepared for such profound change, for such raw newness. Restless and unsettled, she wandered through her days, trying to distract herself, trying to create small comforts for herself, trying to find solace, trying to find answers to problems she barely knew how to name. As time passed, the secrets hidden behind those cold, towering buildings slowly began to surface. They revealed themselves in different ways, sometimes terrifying, sometimes disturbingly intriguing, and sometimes so shocking that they left her breathless, grappling with disbelief. Then, one evening, as she was returning home from work, a horrifying incident shattered her fragile sense of balance. Shock and fear seized her, leaving a mark that would not easily fade. On this page, we began to uncover these moments slowly, carefully, stepping into the reality that awaits her. Part 1. The woman's take in a gamble. Lobar got a job as a cleaner at a small marketplace restaurant. Meanwhile, Marv went to work in construction. However, as promised, their combined income did not reach $600. Even having $200 left after food expenses felt like a celebration. After 2 months, they became completely exhausted. Because they were not eating proper food, they lost weight and began to grow irritable over the smallest things. Marv couldn't roam the streets drinking and living it up. If the police got hold of him, he'd be finished. Even a simple fine could sweep away all the money they had been painfully saving without eating or drinking properly. Some days were so dark they seemed to drain the life out of Lobar. One morning, as she was getting ready to leave for work, a girl's piercing scream echoed through the stairwell. Lobar had been polishing her shoes and had left the door slightly ajar for a moment. Startled, she quickly leaned out to see what was happening. The girl cried out in agony, her voice breaking into desperate wails. The sharp cracks of slaps and the heavy thuds of blows rang harshly through the air. Lobar took 2 hurried steps forward, and then she saw it. A man mercilessly beating the girl in the very short skirt. "You shameless whore! I can't even stand the sight of you!" the man shouted. Startled, Lobar hurriedly called out for Maruf. Akmaleke stirred in his sleep and muttered drowsily, "What's all this noise so early in the morning?" Then he turned to Maruf and asked, "Please just close the door." "He's going to kill that girl," Lobar pleaded, looking desperately at the man. "At least say something. Tell him to stop." "Don't get involved in their business," Maruf said. "Shut the door and go to work. This isn't your neighborhood." Lobar sat, waiting until the shouting died down. Maruf began dressing. It was almost time for him to leave too. Akmaleke came out of his room with a towel draped around his neck. When he saw how downcast Lobar looked, he frowned and said, "Daughter-in-law, don't pay attention to them. Drinking vodka first thing in the morning, running around with strange men, dressing half naked. It's all their own business. They didn't touch you, did they? Then you shouldn't get involved either. You know that girl herself is no good. Let it go. A little beating will straighten a person out." Lobar didn't even bother to answer him. She shut the door hard and left for work. At the restaurant, there was also an elderly Russian woman working as a cleaner. "She is late again. Never shows up on time," the old woman grumbled. I am sorry, Aunt Ira," Lobar said. After a well-dressed man left the washroom, the woman shook her head foolishly, sighing, "Oh. How old are you, Luba?" she asked Lobar. 19. Ira swore under her breath. "When I was 19, she said, half the men in Moscow knew me. Even older men fell in love the moment they saw my beauty. Whatever price I named, they paid without hesitation. I have never met a man who tried to spare his money on me. But I was foolish then. I never asked for bigger sums. I was simply happy when they took me for drives in their cars or brought me to their dachas." Lobar turned her face away. In her first days there, she had already learned that Ira had been a prostitute in her youth and later became a pimp. Whenever possible, Lobar tried to avoid talking to the old woman. But now Ira had crossed the line. "Working in the restaurant like this doesn't suit you, my dear," she said. "I'll introduce you to someone. Don't be afraid. He'll pay both of us well. You'll return to your homeland a rich woman." Carrying the mop and the bucket, Lobar walked away. As she did, she shot the old woman a furious glare. That evening, When Lobar saw a police car parked in front of the building, her heart sank with a sense of foreboding. Just as she had feared, 3 police officers emerged from the entrance. Behind them stood Maruf and Akmalaka, quiet and subdued. "Do you live here as well?" they asked Lobar. "Yes," she replied. "I live on the 4th floor." After that, they questioned her about a girl named Tanya who had been murdered that day, asking whether she had seen her that morning or not. If Akmalaka had not subtly signaled with his head for her to say no, Lobar would have told them everything that had happened, without leaving out a single detail. "I even missed work because of this," Akmalaka said after the officers left. "Who knows, today might have been my lucky day." "What kind of work do you actually do?" Marv asked. "Sometimes you say you are a salesman, other times a porter." Marv's remark made Akmalaka chuckle. He glanced at him with a faintly dismissive look, as if to say, "Poor fellow." "I've carried loads. I've worked as a salesman. But now," he said with a small pause, "I'm a bartender." "A bartender? That's great. Can't you find a job for me at a bar as well? I regret being born working in construction." "Look at me, Maruf," said Akmalaka. "You could regret being born in our bar too." "Why would I? After all, they have turned it into a bar. It's not about mixing concrete or carrying bricks anymore. The self-proclaimed rich Russians, the Azerbaijanis, the Georgians, even the Chechens, they all crowd in there. One wrong move and they wouldn't think twice about killing you." "What? Is it a secret bar?" "Nah, nothing secret. You go in on your own feet, you leave on your own feet. Just like gambling, you might suddenly strike it rich. I don't wander around wasting my nights for nothing. I have hope in something." Akmalaka trailed off, unwilling to reveal whatever secret he had in mind. "It doesn't matter to me anyway," Maruf broke the silence. "Well, can you sort out the work for me?" "I'm telling you, luck like in gambling." "Akmalaka, don't speak to me in riddles," Maruf snapped. "If I don't understand, I don't. You keep saying like gambling. I'm no gambler. Yet before coming to Russia, I won 300,000 sums in just 2 hours." Lobar had been quietly disliking the man's conversation ever since. Hearing that her husband had won 300,000 sums through gambling startled her. "You actually won that money from gambling?" she asked, shocked. "Hey, sister-in-law, today I don't understand you at all," Akmalaka said. "One moment you want to save a girl about to die, the next you are meddling in the man's conversation. Take a lesson from Zuhra. You saw what happened to her. She hasn't returned from work yet." "Go, take your rest," Maruf muttered irritably. Lobar wanted to argue further, but the homeowner called her. After she left, Akmalaka smiled. "Maruf boy, why hide your skills like that? Won't you put them to use like this?